Great. Okay then. So I think, yeah, so welcome Rachel, it was lovely to see
Thank
you.
you.
So I wonder if, initially if you could introduce yourself, sort of where you're from and your setup, sort of how many service users and staff you've got as well. That'd be really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm Rachel Bedford. I'm the registered manager nominated individual for RHB Care Services, and we're a domiciliary care company based in Christchurch. So we began the company in January this year, started taking on new clients from January the 3rd. We've got 16 clients in total and 12 team members.
Super. Thank you. Sorry, it's taken a while to get to the mute button. That's great. Thank you. What's your previous history before this? You've worked in care before?
I have, yeah. So I've managed care homes previously for about 18 years, different settings from residential to nursing, supported living, and I decided to try domiciliary care, which I've not ventured into before. So working at my last service, we actually managed to get an outstanding CQC rating. So I felt that the time had come to go down a different path, if you like, and try domiciliary care. So I set up my own company in January this year.
Hmm. Brilliant. Glutton for punishment then. So you got to
Yeah.
outstanding and then jumped.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's good that you like a challenge, Rachel. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Super.
Yeah.
Thanks for that sort of background. That's really helpful. So in terms of sort of building the case for kind of change, and obviously, you've adopted digital records quite early on, as you've only been,
Yes. Yeah.
operating since January. So can you sort of talk us about why you wanted to adopt a digital system? What were your kind
Yeah.
of primary drivers?
So I think for me, coming from a care home background, the recent care homes I've managed, we were using digital records. So I would say for the past sort of 5, 6 years, we've been using digital. So that's what I was used to. And coming into domiciliary care, obviously setting up the company from scratch, we started using paper documentation for care records, which was really hard to monitor because these records were in people's homes. So it was a lot more difficult to be able to get hold of these records in terms of compliance, making sure that the staff recording was correct and that they were, they were reporting the right things to us, and really having that oversight really of the service, which I found quite difficult. To be able to monitor from, like I said, a compliance and quality point of view. So we did start to look quite early on at different digital records, and quite a few of the care homes that I previously worked at were using different records that you probably wouldn't use in the community. So I got talking to some of the previous managers that I've worked with, and then I noticed that there was a grant available for companies to go digital.
How did you select your supplier?
So basically, with the supplier I decided to go for, I attended lots of demos. So I would say I had about 6 demos in total from different companies. Then I had a look at what I thought would be the easiest system to navigate for my clients and staff. So the staff also got involved in the demos in terms of feedback from them on how they felt, it was easy to navigate. So that's how I decided on the supplier that I chose. Obviously, price was involved as well. So I did have a look at what would be in terms of the cost.
So you mentioned that number one, so you had quite a few demos,
Yeah,
and you mentioned what was you said easy to navigate. What were the other
yeah.
things on your kind of tick list that it needed from care provider?
So I needed to, so we wanted family to have access to the portal. So that was really important for us. We wanted it all under one sort of, so we managed to have our care plans, risk assessments, reporting, rosters, so it was all under one banner I wanted, rather than having lots of different systems. So the only thing that this particular supplier didn't have was policies and procedures, which we obtained them from somewhere else. But in terms of everything else, it's all on there. So in terms of compliance, quality, everything was under one banner. So we're not using lots of different systems.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. Alex, you've got a question.
Yeah, Rachel, thank you for doing this interview and answering these questions. I'm sure that your colleagues in the dom care sector who are thinking of going digital will find it very insightful. I'd just like to comment, you touched a very interesting point, how you involved your staff members, because
Yes.
obviously getting buy-in from staff members is crucial. And I think it was a very wise decision on your part to involve them in the process and get their feedback. So when the system was eventually introduced, it wasn't like, thrown on them. This is it,
No.
deal with it.
Yeah.
So
They all had
kudos
an
for
input
doing
from
that.
day one, yeah, which I thought was really important. I mean, I think which helps nowadays is most people, not all, but most people are quite on board with using apps. Um, a lot of people use mobile phones, and so they do find it quite easy nowadays to be able to navigate that. But one of the things I also look for when I was looking for the supplier was ongoing support as well. So in terms of training, so we had with the supplier we chose, we had 3 different training sessions for an hour, which all the staff attended. And if they couldn't, then we would feed that back to them. But it was really interesting for them because they could ask all the questions and they would go through how the app worked, how to report any issues, and we do have really good ongoing support from the supplier now.
That's brilliant. The way
Yeah.
I'm understanding it, you spent some time, a considerable amount of time to actually research what you're going to be
Yes.
using
Yeah.
and involve your primary stakeholders, which were your staff members.
Yeah.
But it paid off,
It
right?
absolutely
So
did. Yeah. I mean, it's the best thing that we've ever done. I can't see how, looking back now, having paper records, yeah, I mean, in terms of a monitoring and compliance point of view, it would just be so difficult. Everybody is now used to it, all the staff, the clients. When we decided that we needed to go digital, I had that conversation with all the clients and families. Again, most of them are really on board with it because they're used to
doing
social
things in a
media,
digital
and
way.
yeah, so it was quite easy to get them on board. Really, we did have a couple of clients that wasn't particularly keen on it because they don't like paper, they don't like mobile phones, they didn't want the staff to be sat in the house with a phone out and uploading information. So we looked at it on an individual basis really, and then we sat and spoke to that client and explained the reasons why we were doing this. And obviously for our staff, we said to them, when you're doing your notes, make sure it's done when the visit's finished, not in front of the client. So there was ways around it. But we've had fantastic feedback from clients and families. The families have got access to the portal with the client's consent, and everybody that's used it has, we've had lovely emails to say how brilliant it is and how it's so nice to be able to log on and see what their loved one's been up to, and if there's any concerns, that they've had their medication, what they've had to eat. So it's been really positive.
So it was well worth the exercise, well worth the effort.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think for us, because we'd done it quite early on, it wasn't like we were transferring over hundreds of clients. We had sort of 16 clients to transfer over, but we split the clients up. We took our time and we said to ourselves, right, we've got 4 weeks and this is what we want to. So we set ourselves a bit of a deadline, if you like, to work towards. And yeah, it's an ongoing thing anyway, isn't it? Because you're always adding to the care plans.
But still, although you did it very early on,
Yeah.
you still had information to transfer over. And I'm only bringing this up because I know that it sort of feels like a huge blocker for some providers, thinking, well, I have years and years of records. What do I transfer over? But I'm guessing from having spoken with people who did the transition and were on paper-based records for a long period of time,
Yeah.
You set a cutoff point and you're saying, right, from
Yeah.
this day onward, anything else we document is going to be on an electronic way.
Absolutely.
And let's transcribe from paper to digital the bare minimum that we need so that we deliver a safe service.
Absolutely.
And then we can sort of put in the rest of the details and enrich our data as time moves on. So even if you were using paper records for a year before doing the transition, it's still a manageable task.
Definitely, absolutely, yeah. So, and that's the thing, isn't it? There's a team of you that will be doing it. So, yeah, it's very, once you get into it, it's very easy to be able to do that.
So a top tip there is not to do it on your own. I think that's what you
Absolutely,
said. You
yeah.
shared
You
it.
definitely
Okay.
you need to share the workload, yeah. But
Yeah.
in terms of, like I said, once you go live, it is it just makes your life so much easier. It also costs you a lot less as well on things like printing. I've seen a huge decrease in the amount of money we've spent on printing. Yeah, it's been a godsend. Yeah.
So when you're saying things like when families can sort of access information, like, because some providers are a bit anxious about opening up that access as well. So there's two ways of looking at it. But so prior to opening it up and they could see what, like you're talking about, meds, food, that type of thing, how was that being communicated to families? Did they phone in and you'd have to go and then manually sort of chase up? Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's a lot easier for you admin wise now.
Absolutely, yeah, because they can just log on at any time and view the notes. They can, which they don't even need to contact us unless they've had a concern or something. But they can log on, they can view who's been that evening or morning. They can see exactly what's happened. Where, like you said previously, it would have been contacting us via phone or sending an email. More so if they live away, which you do find a lot of our clients' families are not local. And the clients are on board with that, and they say, oh, it's nice that my daughter can see what we've been up to today, if we've gone out for a coffee or something like that. So yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, and it's real-time information as well.
Absolutely, yeah, and they can see if somebody's that if somebody had running a little bit behind. I think it's important to be open and transparent about everything. So yeah.
And one of the questions sort of going, sorry Alex, when you're going back to the supplier, did you decide to buy devices for staff, or have they got the app on their own personal devices? What
they've got their phone, they've got their own. Well, we decided to do a little bit of both, just in case, because not everybody has phones. So we did have a handful of devices, but we've also, a lot of the staff will use their own phones, which we've got them to sign, obviously a data protection policy and form and everything else that goes with that. Yeah,
and presumably wipe access through the supplier, etc. as well, if you need
absolutely
to, if phones was lost. And sorry Alex, you had a question. Sorry.
My question was, you led on to my question beautifully, because I was just going to ask about the data concerns and security concerns. And in layman's terms, do you feel unsafe now that your records are somewhere on the cloud and you don't physically see them lying around in your office?
Exactly. I feel a lot safer this way, because when we had files in clients' homes, that was more of a risk of people being able to access. Unfortunately, it does happen where files can go missing.
Or somebody changes something.
Exactly. So and being able to, from our point of view, a management point of view, being able to go on this system, which I can go on right now if I wanted to, I can make sure that call's been attended to. If it hasn't, I can phone that staff member and find out where they are, or if something's happened. I can go on, which I do throughout the day, to make sure that people have had their medication. If they've not had their medication, again, I can find out straight away why. Whereas if you've got paper Mars in people's houses, it's really difficult to be able to stock control and monitor. So it's live information all the time. So if, you know, I mean, again, different suppliers, different apps, but on ours that we use, if there is something missed off the checklist that they need to do, it won't let them log out of the visit, or it will flag that up to us on, you know, this particular item on the checklist is not being done, so we can follow up why. Again, like I said, if there was an issue and somebody needed a GP, anything like that, it's just really, really good to be able to have that information at hand.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah. Fantastic. I just think, are there any kind of accessibility features? You sort of, something you said there led me down that route. So in terms of, can you speak into the system and it records, or
Yes, you
yeah,
can.
that type of thing. Yeah.
So again, I think once you get used to the system that you're using, so when you are doing your, like, for example, if the staff are logging their notes, you can actually record it, so it is a lot quicker. So in terms of, again, when you're sat there writing notes, it's a lot easier to be able to do it via the app, a lot quicker. One thing I always say to my staff is, if you're talking through the app to record, just double check it at the end, because sometimes when you've recorded something, it doesn't always, so you just need to be mindful of that. But again, you know, we double check everything. I always keep up to date with the data that's being inputted, and I check it throughout the day, really. Yeah.
Are staff happy
Fantastic.
using the software? Are they saving on time? Are they finding it
Absolutely,
easier?
absolutely. They're definitely saving on time, because one thing we don't like to do is, if we say to one of our clients we've got an hour visit, we don't want to sit there for 10-15 minutes writing up notes, because we just don't find that quality. So for us, we like to do the whole visit, and once we've done the visit, we will then upload our records from what's happened on that particular visit. And again, you know, it's again different systems, but our staff members can log on, they can see what their schedule is for the week, so they can see, you know, what clients they're allocated to, what times, so if there's any issues they can let us know. It's just brilliant, you know, they can straight away, you know, there's anything they need to be aware of, we have like a flashcard. So if somebody's on blood thinning medication and they really need to be aware of that, or if someone's got a DNAR in place, everything's really accessible for them. So they do really find that good as well.
Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, great. So, and what about, so when you went to sort of go live, so as you mentioned, you had 16 clients. So between you kind of uploaded all the records, did you do like a, right, we're switching this off at midnight today and we're completely going live just on this system? Or did you run it side by side for a few days, or how did that kind of
We ran it
transpire?
side by side, and myself and Joe, who's the care director, we trialed it first, because we were doing visits. We basically decided for us to trial it on the clients that we were allocated to begin with, just to see if there was anything we needed to sort of address beforehand. And obviously there was a few teething issues, you know, for the first week or so, but it was nothing that couldn't be addressed quite quickly. And then we decided to go, completely digital for all staff then, and all clients.
Yeah, fantastic. And just the other thing, thinking about obviously domiciliary care, you're moving around a lot. Have you got black areas sort of where you don't get reception, and how do you kind of manage that if you've come across that?
Yeah, we have had a few areas where the reception is not good. You can still upload all the information, but what you will find, again, different systems, but you just have to refresh the app, and then it will upload once it gets Wi-Fi signal. So it's not an issue. There might just be a little bit of a delayed upload, but apart from that, it's been absolutely fine.
You've never missed any data. You've never missed any care
never.
notes not being transferred over.
No, there might be a slight delay, like I say, but that's, you know, that. But we've never had any missed data. Definitely not. No.
Okay.
And presumably you'd have that oversight if that and if any data wasn't uploaded, you'd be able to query it straight
Absolutely.
away because you'd see it
It
in
would be,
the
it would
trail.
flag up
Okay.
as a missed call or something like that. So,
Yeah.
and that's a really good thing. It constantly alerts you, like I said, on any issues that you need to be aware of. The staff can upload if they go into somebody's home and they've had an incident, a fall, a safeguarding, they can upload that onto the system with all the details, which then as a manager we would review the incident and address it and then close it if we felt everything was safe. So yeah, it's really good in terms of live information.
All these
And
alerts,
then,
sorry, quick question,
no,
because it ties in with all these alerts. Has it increased or has it decreased your stress levels? Because being a manager, registered manager, is a very stressful job and can be very challenging at times. So do you think that now that you're on a digital system, you get all that wealth of information, do you feel it's, I don't know, taking over your daily life, or is it giving you ease of mind that, oh, I will be made aware when something does go wrong, and if no alerts come through, then everything is okay?
I would say from my point of view, it's made my life easier and less stressful. So I would rather know what's going on. And, you know, as a manager, as a registered manager, you've got a huge responsibility. So you need to know what's going on with your clients and staff. So to have those alerts and be made aware of, you know, concerns, you know, it's good to know there and then so it can be addressed, prevented. So I would say it's definitely made my life less stressful. Yeah.
right. So through the process, Rachel, what would be the top tips that you'd share with other providers if they were just about to embark on this? So you've already given us one about share the workload. Don't try and do it all yourself. Get
Yeah,
some kind of
absolutely.
support with
Share
that
the
one.
workload. I would say get everybody on board. You know, it's really, really important to get your team on board, your clients, your families, you know, and to be able to sort of sell to them the benefits of going digital and why you're doing it, because it does benefit everybody hugely. Find the right supplier for you. There's lots of different suppliers out there. Again, you know, I went for one that I thought would suit our needs. You know, in terms of cost, easy to navigate, but there's so many. I would say have demos, don't just jump into the first supplier. I had quite a few demos before I decided on the right supplier for us, so I would definitely do that. I would trial it, maybe like we did, you know, we trialed it with the senior managers first, just so if there was any issues we could address that quickly rather than making the staff feel a bit overwhelmed or stressed if things weren't going to plan. And yeah, just prepare yourself really, organisation. But like I say, once it's done and once you have gone digital, yeah, it's definitely worth doing it. Yeah.
Really
Was
brilliant.
the available
Yeah.
funding a helpful resource?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know, and I'll be honest with you, you know, we had looked at going digital before we found out about the funding, but I probably would have delayed it if the funding wasn't available because we're a new setup. So, but you know, you've been amazing throughout the whole process, you know, with your communication and yeah.
so I
If
didn't
we
give you a hard time.
No, you didn't give me a hard time, did you? No, there was only a few emails back and forth. But apart from that, it was quite an easy process.
Okay, then that's
Yeah, it
good
was
to
very
know.
easy. Yeah, it was a really easy process to go through in terms of the funding. And I have mentioned it to other providers who have mentioned to me about going digital and said to them, you know, if you can, there might be a grant available. But it's definitely worth doing it. And looking back now, even if we couldn't access the grant at the time, I still would
You
have
still do it.
done it
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it does make my life a lot easier. Yeah.
On a lighter note, you're on no commission from any one of the assured suppliers, right?
I'm
You're
not on
just
any
speaking
commission
about good,
whatsoever. No, no.
because everyone will be after you for
Sorry, my
interviews.
dog barked. Sorry.
Okay,
Sorry. That's my
that's all
two
right.
dogs.
I think if I was watching this as a viewer, I'd think, great, it's really nice to have like dogs involved and all that sort of stuff. And
They're
well,
guarding. There's a cat in the garden, so.
Oh
Oh,
yeah. Well, I think it perfectly highlights what it's like to work in the social care system, isn't it? Anyway, so you know,
Absolutely.
the multiple kind of
You're
interruptions and
multitasking all
stuff.
the time.
all the
Yeah,
time. Yeah.
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 Just one of the questions I thought of, and obviously, you like you say, you used to work in a residential setting, and obviously you've now
Yes.
set up Dom Care. So, albeit they are different types of services, did you use the same supplier in your care home that you used to work
No,
in?
no,
No.
a
So you've had
different
experience of
supplier.
different
Yeah, absolutely.
certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, the one we used in the care home setting, everybody found it really difficult to use. It
For
wasn't the
Dom Care.
easiest system.
Mm.
So I didn't want to go down that route where, I wanted it to be as easy as possible for people. So they weren't put off, basically. Nobody, in the system we had in the care home, it was a real difficult system to navigate and use. So I wanted it to be as easy as possible for CQC, the families, staff, the clients. Some of our clients have access to it. Some of them said they didn't want to have access, but our clients have got access to the app.
And just another sort of being another led on to really, it's kind of so if you need to evidence the kind of the time that you're spending with somebody, if it needs to increase, is it helpful in terms of sort of providing that evidence if you need to do that kind of refresh
Yes.
care plans and
Yeah.
you've got
Yeah.
that at your fingertips? Yeah,
Absolutely. And you'll find as well that staff, when they're writing their notes, they'll mention in their notes in terms of time, and you can also see what time they've left the visit. So that's been really good for us to be able to evidence not only to, some of our funded clients, but also to our private clients, to say to families, look, we've been in with your mum for an hour. However, the staff are running over like every day. They're there sort of 10, 15 minutes later. Maybe we could adjust it to an hour and a half. And, we can then obviously evidence the reasons as to why we might need to do that, because their needs have increased. They want to spend more time with the staff. So yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah.
brilliant. Thank you, Rachel. Have you got any other questions, Alex?
No. I
No,
think
no.
Rachel covered everything, and
Yeah,
what I'm sort of picking up as the highlight is that you involved your staff members in the process, and they were engaged with it from day number one. You trialed the system
Absolutely.
before
Yeah.
you made the final decision. You
Yeah.
spent time to review available systems. So once you made the commitment, you didn't have second thoughts thinking, oh, I should have seen another 5, 10, whatever systems
Yeah.
are out there. And I think these factors played a huge role in you implementing the transition successfully. So very well done.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, the after support as well with the supplier has been brilliant. If we've ever got any issues, we can drop them an email, pick up the phone, and it's resolved really, really quickly.
That's really important, isn't it? Having that ongoing support as
Absolutely.
well, and
Yeah. So you're
having that
not sort of
confidence.
feeling left. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Great. Thank you ever so much, Rachel. Let me
No
just stop.
problem.
I'll stop recording. That was, yeah, I couldn't have wrote it better.